toys is endearing. While F1 2012 is undoubtedly impressive, the boldness, clarity and execution of the artistic direction in F1 Race Stars is brilliantly unexpected from such a prolific developer of race sims. Gameplay-wise, F1 Race Stars is trying hard to separate itself from the aforementioned plumber by incorporating F1-inspired power-ups such as KERS and DRS boosts, wet weather and pit stops to repair your car. Unlike other karting games, this isn't just a point-and-go power-sliding adventure. You have to brake before turns, and there is a genuine progression in skill required. However, the physics aren't as up to scratch as one would hope, leading to over-strong brakes and understeering karts. This isn't as bad as it sounds, it's just disappointing compared to the quality of the rest of the game. F1 2012 has amazing physics that create a realistic challenge for skilled drivers but can be made instantly accessible to anyone. Certainly the most novice-friendly of the series so far, this doesn't detract from the fact that this is primarily for hardcore F1 fans, and it's certainly the best representation to hit consoles. For simultaneously being a distillation of an incredibly complex world, but without hollowing the experience for hardcore fans, F1 2012 is the victor here. On to multiplayer, and while F1 2012 does create a competitive environment, F1 Race Stars is designed from start to finish to be a fun-for-all multiplayer experience. It hits this perfectly, as every race with your friends descends into fits of laughter and competitive rage as you battle it out across the brilliantly designed tracks. F1 2012 serves up all the straight-laced simulation racing that a competitive soul desires. However, Formula One has the tendency to be only truly exciting to the faithful, so F1 Race Stars just about takes this one. Both games are incredibly impressive. F1 Race Stars is so good in so many ways, but its lack of execution of the on-track physics lets it down on what is otherwise an all-round great game. F1 2012 is a showpiece example of how to make a racing game. Hard enough for the F1 faithful to level, easy enough for newcomers to jump on board. F1 2012 wins this battle. From the most alpha of motorsports to a car that stands at the very front of the Greek alphabet, it's the Alfa Romeo 8C Competizione. What you may not know is that despite sounding like a minicab call sign alongside Bravo, Delta, Foxtrot, Zebra, Alfa is actually an acronym for Anonima Lombarda Fabbrica Automobili, or the Lombard Automobile Company, ALFA. And the Romeo bit is nothing to do with romance. About 100 years ago, the factory was bought by an Italian entrepreneur called Nicola Romeo. As with many Italian supercars, their names are often rebirths of old marques that were quite mundane labels in their original guise, such as the Ferrari Dino, a name originally used to designate any Ferrari with less than 12 cylinders. The 8C was originally used by Alfa simply for their 8-cylinder engine, being used by manufacturers including Ferrari. The 8C Competizione, with its long nose and squat rear end, is classically proportioned, and with a V8 450 horsepower engine catapulting the 8C from 0 to 60 in just 4.2 seconds and a top speed of nearly 300 kilometers per hour, it is certainly more than just a pretty face. Which is handy, as most cars that make their way into video games these days spend about 3 seconds before they're stripped and get body mods and spoilers thrown on them. So luckily, it is also a car that has somehow managed to avoid being hijacked, mangled and robotomized into a giant marauding space machine. Should have gone to Cybertron.
If you need any confirmation that Transformers still have the power to wow children and adults alike, then look no further than the excellent Fall of Cybertron. Between video games, cartoons and blockbuster movies, the Transformers have grown from their humble beginnings as toys into a mammoth franchise that spanned decades. If you're yet to embrace the world of Transformers, or are perhaps a bit perplexed, let us guide you through just some of the reasons why Transformers are awesome. First up in our guide to awesome are the Autobots. Spearheaded by wise leader Optimus Prime, the Autobots are a faction of transforming robots from the planet Cybertron, who've been depicted throughout the years in various guises as the lead protagonists and heroes of the series. Whilst Fall of Cybertron depicts their final days in the fight to save Cybertron, the Autobots have also been portrayed as protectors of Earth in the animated series, comic books and movies. Aside from role model leader Optimus Prime, many iconic Autobots such as Bumblebee, Jazz and Cliffjumper have become fan favourites, and their popularity puts them into some of the best missions of Fall of Cybertron's epic campaign. But all heroes need villains, and the Autobots have forever been battling with the evil Decepticons. Led by Optimus Prime's arch-nemesis Megatron, the Decepticons are greedy warriors and prefer to engage in war with the Autobots rather than kiss and make up. Fall of Cybertron's narrative weaves in between both factions of Autobots and Decepticons, and you'll get to play as such feared baddies as Vortex, Megatron and Starscream. While they're predominantly the bad guys, it's a testament to the awesomeness of the franchise that the Decepticons have become just as popular with fans, if not more so, as the Autobots.
Run, Autobots! Megatron lives!
The Autobots and Decepticon factions are full of classic characters that we've grown to love over the years. But they wouldn't be anything without the cool transformations which define the franchise. Each and every character is capable of transforming into a different machine, be it a sports car, helicopter, tank, or even a fire-breathing dinosaur.
Never give up!
You're not
No one's tougher than me!
So we've got the heroic Autobots and the despicable Decepticons, as well as a heap of awesome transformations. But what would they be without a decent story? Thankfully, the Transformers universe has continued to expand in scale and scope over the years, and the films, games and comic books have constantly rejuvenated and reinvented the world in which they inhabit. Fall of Cybertron's epic story depicting the last days of the war for Cybertron is steeped in drama, tragedy and tension, and it's a testament to the awesomeness of Transformers that you'll actually care for the characters and their plight. The universe in which the Transformers exist is as well crafted and expansive as any other sci-fi franchise.
They are ugly!
Keep on him, Jazz!
Easy for you to say!
Finally, we come to the awesome staying power of the Transformers series, which has endured almost 3 decades of success. Recently, we've had the Love 'em or Hate 'em series of films from Michael Bay, whilst the successful video games War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron have showed how licensed games don't have to strictly appeal to die-hard fans only. Elsewhere, the many different forms of animated series and comic books continue to go from strength to strength, as the series endures to capture our imagination. While there are many fans that have simply become attached to the classic animated series through nostalgia, others have been drawn in by more recent incarnations of the characters in films and video games.
Time to transform yourselves into standby mode for a few minutes as we take a break. But don't switch off entirely, we've got Forza Horizon round the next bend.
Te invităm în universul historiei.